Hello, my name is Annalisa Lotti. I'm a Spanish translator. I've been translating for the last 12 years. I hold a degree in translation from my native country, Argentina, and I also have a master's degree in translation from Australia, from Sydney. And now I've decided to put together this course, Contrastive Analysis for English-Spanish translators who work in either direction, because I've realized during the last 3 or 4 years when I've been teaching translation in New York City, both in person and online, during the courses that I've developed and taught, I realized that many working translators and certainly many translation students don't have a strong background in syntax. They do have a solid background in grammar, but when it comes to syntax, they falter. And so I thought, well, syntax is really, it's one of my strongest tools I have as a translator. And I thought that having a course in syntax and specifically in contrastive syntax was going to be useful. Syntax is basically the way a language is structured, the way you put together words in a particular order to convey a meaning. So if grammar gives you the rules, well, syntax gives you the order in which you need to arrange those rules. And so a course in syntax, and specifically a course in contrastive syntax, is, I believe, essential for translators to be able to base their decisions and understand why the source text sentence is arranged in a particular way and what they need to do, how they need to rearrange those elements back in their target sentence. So in this contrastive analysis, in this contrastive syntax course, we're going to be looking is why English and Spanish are structured in different ways, side by side. Learning, for example, the subject and the predicate. Why is this important for me to understand as a translator? Where does the subject start? Where does the predicate start? Why I put or I don't put this comma here, why I need to rearrange this or not rearrange this to give the particular emphasis of this sentence. What if I rearrange these particular elements in this sentence and give out a completely different emphasis in my target language, which was not present in my source text? So try to see what meanings are embedded in the way a sentence is structured. I believe is essential for you to be able to know where to put all the elements in a sentence in your target text. So we're going to be looking at, for example, why a comma is not required in a particular sentence because of a syntactic reason, or why a comma is required in a particular part of a sentence. What happens with the transitivity and the direct objects and in the indirect objects? Why is this relevant to translators? When we can double objects in a particular language and why we don't double objects in another language? What happens when we start modifying nouns? with relative clauses, why we have dangling participles in some language in English, what happens with the relative clauses in Spanish and in English, what happens with the ing phrases, either gerundial phrases or present participial phrases in English, and then we have the gerundio in Spanish. Why is the gerundio many times wrong in Spanish, and what syntax can do to help us understand that and avoid those mistakes as translators. What happens with the subjunctive, why the subjunctive in English and in Spanish are so different, and what we can do to really learn what happens behind the scenes, under the surface. And syntax is the one that is the tool that allows us to go under the surface and understand what's going on, and understand why we need to rearrange the sentence in that particular order and not in the other. So that's my proposal. This is what I'm trying to put together, and if you think it's going to be as useful as I think it is, jump on board, join me, and I'm very much looking forward to this syntactic adventure.